settle at Ekona and other villages like Kwakwa. But now, even with the rule of military, I think that there has been relative calm. 3 years ago, people could hardly, parade the streets of Boya, but now you have people going out, in their engagements, and the calm in the heart of the night, and and the place is really tranquil. So don't you think that he's deserving of that toast? It comes by meritocracy.
I think the approach in all is a wrong one. If you get here, the destination is Douala, and you pick the road to Limbe, you are moving, but now burning more resources for a distance that we know all the way to Douala. You pass through Mutengene, engage the road towards Tiko, and you are diving to Douala. But where we are now, instead of flying the plot to Douala, we instead took the road to Limbe. Now, if you go to Limbe, to Limbe, you blast through it now, you are moving. To the international community, you are buying time, and for them it's fine. But we are saying that the toll of death, both from the regular army and the unarmed population, and even the separatist fighters themselves, is uncalled for. It's uncalled for. When Professor Maurice Kamto had given him a succinct solution that will curb this crisis to the latter, that will give a lasting peace to the peace-loving people of the Northwest and the Southwest.
Can you just expound a little on some of these remedies that were proposed by Professor Maurice Kamto?
Of course, we said that the moment Cameroonians give their trust to us, we are going to allow the Anglophone themselves have what they call their specification by having a talk, a plebiscite. What Cardinal Tumi at the time was calling for the all Anglophone conference that was supposed to be held here in Boya. You remember back then, late Mayor Ekema came out powerfully to denounce that kind of thing cannot happen in his own town. Bona fide Anglophone went on the stage and castigated that move of Cardinal Tumi. But so many years after the monologue that took place at the Yaoundé Conference Center in the name of dialogue, you see that the solution, the crisis has not settled. If we must keep going by the saying that, Mr. Syria, saying that there's relative peace. No. What's happening? They are intermittent. People who are used to fasting, when you take intermittent fasting, it means that at a certain point you go sober, at a certain point you go high. That's exactly what is happening. It does not mean that there is a progress. You don't know the number of separatists that are in the bush now. You cannot count. But every day they will give us a report that 200 have left. But I remember the last report that Mr. Fayengo Francis, who happened to be the national director of the Center for Demobilization and Reintegration, he said that close to 650 separatists have dropped their arms and have joined the DDR centers, both in the Northwest and in the Southwest. And I told myself that how can they be telling a blatant lie to the people?
But when
where are the people who have dropped the arms and they are in the centers? We did not just stop on the media. We went to the centers and told ourselves that no, we must fast check.
But then again, Mr. Cyril, if you go to Boster Institute, where it is a DRO center, you will see that most of these separatist fighters have been relinquished.
Of course, some are there. They were resettled there for re-education. But those who are there, they are not satisfied with the way they are being cared for, because some say they have come to the end of their program, but they don't have the minimum resources to go and stand on their own, and they must wait up to a certain period. All depend on the state, but the state is not making the resources available for them. For me, I think it was a quick pro quo, because the time they brought the DDR wasn't the right time for it to come in.
Okay.
Because the people who are fighting had not come to a point where they were to drop their arms. This thing, the peace process has stages. We don't need to jump there. Each time we jump there, as I told you, we do it at our own detriment, because only time is there to remind us that we are running on the wrong side of the road, and so accident can happen anytime. So when the international community for 2023 give their report to the head of state that they really applaud the effort he has done to make sure that the Anglophone crisis to almost come to an end. I asked myself, are they living in the same country with us? That was not all. In their report, they equally appreciated him that as the outgoing president of the CEMAC conference of president, he did an extraordinary job. I asked myself that if not of bringing Frank Biya in that conference, that other head of state came here, what else did Mr. Biya do during that particular conference that he need to be held? Those are some of the questions I was asking myself. And at a certain point in time, I told myself, but who is the representative of this diplomat? And it recalled to me that it is a Gabonese, it is the ambassador of Gabon to Cameroon. And I said, no doubt, because the president, Oligui Nguema, was here not too long from now. And the way he heard the president of the republic telling him, you cannot imagine what the co-president was telling the head of state, that you are a baobab in the Central Africa. No president can stand without coming to bow down for. I ask myself that in diplomacy, do we need this kind of diplomacy? Talk about interest. Now Cameroon has betting to become the next president of the National Security Council for the 64th edition. That is what Mr. Biya in his own speech today was asking the diplomat to please vote for Cameroon to stand as the president of the National Security Council. And I'm asking myself, what is Cameroon going to do there? What are we going to do there if we cannot settle little crisis? We still have the post-electoral crisis that is pending. MRC have not given up on the electoral hold up. We have not given up. That is why we keep having our meetings. We keep even come to having the speech the same time when Sabia was a way to tell him that he rigged election in 2018 and we have not gone past that.
Of course, we are going to be finding out the veracity of the rigging of election, but then again, Cameroonians are trying to look at the flip side of things to think that there could be a way out, and of course, powers may change hands or play in the hands of the rightful owners if there is a coalition. Let us hear from the next guest who has joined the studio this particular moment. No other person than Mr. Ndifo Richard, who is an SDF militant, and is here, of course, to see how to season the topic that we have on board. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, you watching from home is not left out, because the number to react on the program is on your television screen. Send us a message. Do not call, and we are going to take the message or interaction here in the studio. And while we do so, we want to appreciate and say you should have a happy viewing. Mr. Ndifo Richard, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. It always feels good to have you around, and we are not taking that for granted.
Thank you.
You know, when I told you about the topic, do you think it was something worth discussing, worth a massage of this sort?
Yeah, I think that the issue of coalition is a very critical topic, because Cameroonians have been yearning for this for a long time, especially Cameroonians who are yearning for change in Cameroon. They have been yearning that opposition political parties come together and form some kind of coalition.
Alliance.
And I think the reason behind their thinking is that, first of all, running a campaign, like a presidential campaign, is a very costly venture, extremely costly. That is what many Cameroonians do not seem to recognize. But running a campaign for president, if you have to go to all the subdivisions, all the villages, every nooks and crannies of Cameroon to who votes, you will need the money, you will need the resources to do so. And we know that for over the years, the CPD and political party has amassed enough money for that. First of all, they have all the ministers. If we have to just suggest that only their militants should raise money, they will raise enormous amount of money that is unmatched by any other political party, because just the number of ministers that they have, the number of, we know that even civil administrators are all CPDM militants. They may try to cover it and tell you that they are not, but civil administrators are. And when you notice that all those civil administrators are not only civil administrators, top civil servants, they will tell you they sit in their offices and they come with envelopes and say they should support the party. And all of that, if you take all of this, it's an enormous amount of money. And that notwithstanding, they have the state coffers at their disposal. They can play with it as they like. Even some of these people that we say they are donating, where do they get the money from? Still from the state coffers. And then, in addition to that, they have state cars at their resources. If you have to go into those villages, you need good cars
and security
that will take you
levels
into those places. They have the security at their disposal. That, in addition again to that, they have the entire civil service, human resources at their disposal, because during campaigns, most offices are shut down and civil servants are used as campaign officials to go back to their different villages and campaign for the CPDM. And then again, if you have to put that together with the fact that the state's television is at their disposal, they manage and run it, then you see that the opposition is no match in the face of this kind of opponent. And therefore, for the opposition to even come close to be competing with the CPDM, they will need to put their resources together.
So in that case, what would you say that could be, the major reason why main opposition parties will come together to form an alliance against the incumbent?
This is for the various reasons I explained to you, that they need enough resources to be able to match the main opponent, which is the CPDM in this case. And for them to have those resources, if you take, for example, the MRC and the SDF we are talking about here, if they put their resources together, and when I talk of resources, I'm talking about financial and human resources.
Definitely.
Yeah, so if we put all of that together, they will make up a stronger force than if they have to divide these resources. The SDF is managing their own meager resources this way, this MRS is managing their own this way. It will be divided, and in that case it becomes very easy for the CPDM to crush them. Then again, when it comes even to competition, we know that the MRC and the SDF are opposition parties, which means that they are opposing the main person, which is the CPDM. But right now, if they spend their time competing among themselves again, like trying to convince their voters that okay, it is not MRC, it is not CPDM, it's me. You see again there that
the chances, it narrows the chances,
and there is divided attention.
Okay.
So for all this reason, Cameroonians themselves have realized, I'm talking about the people who are the voters, and they have spoken to these politicians in several ways.
Okay, you being a bona fide Cameroonian and a bona fide member of the NEC, you're not a small fry. We know that if we're addressing an elephant in the room, it should be you. Do you think this is something that you have given thoughtfulness? Is this something that you have placed on the table, placed the cards to try to weigh the options?
Yeah, of course. The SDF over the years have recognized that. Given our experience in the field, the SDF is a party, is one of the oldest opposition political parties in Cameroon. Given our experience in the field, given our experience over the years, we have seen that if we have to make a headway, we must be able to come together in some kind of a coalition. The SDF has even gone a step further to recognize that it is not only coalition, that coalition of political parties alone may not even do the trick. We need a coalition that involves even Cameroonians, that is Cameroonians coming together to say that we are standing behind this coalition. A coalition that involves even civil society organization. That is why the SDF has taken the first step to engage with trade union, the Federation of Cameroon Trade Union Workers, so that they get them into it. And we are looking at engaging civil society organizations
to be a part of this drive.
To be a part of it. If all of these forces, including the progressive force of the opposition parties, if all of them come together, and maybe one thing too you should understand is that political parties do not have any fundraising mechanism. They don't have any fundraising mechanism. They rely entirely on donations. That is all they rely on. They rely on donations.
By donations, do you mean international organizations or
no.
individuals?
And then that is where again it becomes tricky, because international organizations cannot fund parties, because then it will be seen as they intervening into the political affairs of the country.
Okay.
So international organizations do not fund parties. What happened is that political parties can only get their funds from ordinary people donating to the party, and in this case, that is why it is important for political party to run for local elections.
You know,
because when you run for local elections, when you have members of parliament, when you have mayors and all of that, these mayors, they at least they have some source of income thanks to the party that has vetted them, and so therefore a percentage of what they have goes to fund the party.
Okay, you know, it is one thing to have the interest in forming an alliance. I mean, we are envisaging, we are not saying, ladies and gentlemen, that is something that is already happening. But maybe at now, it is still a pipe dream, something that is pretty impossible. But who knows? One day, you know, it may dawn on these political parties that they need to come together to work in synergy. Mr. Cyril, it's one thing to have the huge appetite forming an alliance, and it's another thing to manage. What do you envision to be the challenges or the challenges, you know, of this alliance, and how do you think it can be managed if truly this is actually birth?
Yeah, it's one thing to idealize, to have the ideology to conceptualize. It's another one to realize before even managing. So since the birth of the MRC, we've been focused on education, political emancipation, helping the young boy. That's why if you see the MRC is in majority young people under 30. Most of the Cameroonians that you see they fly out of this country, you go on social media, you realize most of them are supporters of the MRC. And when it comes to fundraising, they really pull a lot of fun. So, if you are a young person following us tonight, don't be afraid to join politics. Yes. Your brother out there, they know exactly where our country is, and they are ready to support you if you take the necessary measures. I checked again your YouTube channel yesterday after the program. I saw it has a great number of views. And I'm thinking that if we keep up, before you know, people from that same YouTube channel will be making proposal to fund a program like this one. It happens. That's how you see other channels doing. Political program, political emancipation is something that since 2012 that we started, we've been working to achieve. That is a way to have a coalition. What the next member on the panel talk about, having a coalition with the people, bringing the people in to see that they are part of the change that they want. And you know, opposite us we have, I don't want to go back to all what Mr. Nzifo said. He talked about a dictatorial regime that has been there and has all the equipments, all the resources to be brainwashing the people at its own taste. So back to us, the education that we are doing is appearing on platform like that. That's why if you invite CPDM member, they will not show up. They don't show up. They don't care. They have everything. So why bother? But we have said that we will not give up. We will not give up, because this is one of the tools that we have. We are on social media. Do you know what they tell us? That we are ranting. Do you know what they tell us? that we have an imaginary republic, but it is that same imaginary republic that give them sleepless nights. If not, why are they always behind us when we organize a rally? Why are they on our page every day? Do you know that this state have spy that they pay with state funds to be on social media handles?
But I think
I'm just trying to tell you that they will come over the air and tell you that those things are of no importance. Yet they have sponsored people to be there and fighting for their own case. You know, you cannot even imagine what it means to be the president of the state and the kind of opportunities that are around it. I mean, there are so much opportunity that you cannot even think of. And opportunity means going again with money. So the coalition, the concept of coalition is something that if the people think it's only for the party to come together, they themselves, they are missing their own role. Yes. If in a house, let me bring it down to normal things that we can measure. The mother thinks that it is only the responsibility of the father to provide for this house. Mabel, for those who are married can testify, that family cannot stand.
Okay, so in this case,
because there are moments that the father is broke.
Okay, in this case, what does the local man need? What kind of involvement?
It starts with their voters cards. That's the basic thing we need from them. I'm not lying to you. Anybody who does not have a voter card, I have no business with you. No, for that one, I'm not joking. Those who are supporting the system, the CPDN, I have no business with you. No, we have reached that particular point that
is that not being a little bit extreme?
You should be asking it because the CPDN don't care. When they are ruling this country like this, they don't care. No, you must observe them and see the way they function. Do you know that a Joe, when he leaves schools, his salary goes straight to his bank account? He is provided a service car, provided a house help. They give food for them, they give petrol, almost everything they give them. Yet they are still chef there, meaning that all the land belongs to them. No, we have to put an end to that.
Okay. Can you provide?
So the first coalition, just to answer your question before you seize the floor, is with the people. The people must feel a central place, because you know, if the people come together and say that we want coalition, who are political parties not to abide with them? See the convention that we held in Yaoundé. If the people did not come, what would the coalition look like? What would the convention look like? Zero. It stands to the population that came out, that they are even calling us today that they have called us in this country small party now. It stands to our small convention now that some people are saying that, okay, Massa, no, listen to those people. So I'm telling you that the people have a kind of power that sometimes they underestimate themselves, and the government in place is fueling that underestimation.
Okay.
You know how? Most Cameroonians are struggling to look for what to eat. They get up in the morning from morning to 6 p.m. They are looking for what to eat.
I think we have come to the cross line where we need to ask ourselves this very pertinent question. I have been wondering, have there been a time in history where in other countries where political organs and political parties, especially oppositions, come together to form an alliance? And what was the raison d'etre, and what was the result thereafter?
Every revolution that you see around the world has not happened without the help of the people. The most recent that took place is what they call the Arab Spring, that took place in northern Africa. Yes. So Tunisia, Egypt, Algeria, those countries has known almost monarchy. The minimum was about 33 years. But it came a time that the people said no.
And Cameroon is 41.
Yeah, we are 41, though we are claiming democracy. The people say no. They took onto the streets. Marching. It's not this thing that they will march here when they come and light a small gas where everybody is gone and nobody. No. People sacrifice, just like what you saw in Guinea. Guinea, what happened when they asked the French embassy to leave? Ambassador. He thought that he was see that time. He stood. What they did is that women and young people came on the streets, and mature people as well. While young people were there rioting, women were cooking food. They come at 11 a.m. in the morning and give them, then come again in the evening at 5 p.m. and give them. And that is how he was rotating. At the end of the third week, Macron called that this man, that his ambassadors to start packing and come back. Protest must have a strategy. We cannot say that we want to chase out a government and we are pampering the government. We are telling the people how, oh, if you go to the streets, they will catch you and put in prison. Let me tell you, before you take the floor finally, what happened with the CRM members that are still in jail? Every day there is a commission. Every day they eat. That's why you see most of our militants, when they leave the prison, they are more fresher than me. They are bulky. An example is Salomon Beyas. Very bulky, very rich. Why? Because while in prison, they take care of you, pay your children's school fees, and take care of your wife. Put them on a PTM. That money is not coming only from us. It is a contribution from all the sympathizers. See, sympathizers are even more important than militant. Don't mind. Because sympathizers, they don't want their face to be seen, but they're foreign money. They're foreign money. And it's for a good case. We say we want change through the ballot. We want peaceful change.
Okay, thank you so much. I thought you were meaning, to orchestrate the change through another kind of perspective. We have been joined by the Vatican. The Vatican followed this program and decided that he was going to be adding his voice. So we have been joined by a political analyst and a great historian, young, gentle, very smart, and his input in this program is not even going to be short of admiration. We are talking about Mr. Pope Bertrand. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Margaret. We grow every day, and that's why I have so many political parties due to the increase of the population. I was outdone by traffic, but I promised to be here today. Great pleasure sharing the platform with such elegant minds in the person of the Mosiri and my senior brother. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we are looking at, just envisaging and dreaming. It's, everybody is permitted to dream. What about the MRC and the SDF coming together? I mean, the two baobabs and forming a force. What do you think if you wake up on your bed and one day you get wind of this kind of information? Are you going to receive it with a face filled with broad smiles, or are you going to throw stones?
Well, we all expect change. Every day in our life we anticipate change. And truth be told, we have almost 370 something parties. But I think that if you are to name a few parties after the ruling party being the CPDM, SDF, Republican first, and the second to none, which will just be the MRC. These are political parties that has a majority that can pose a threat to the present government, and that is why the government is doing everything at its best to see that this coalition never meets. And the senior brother happened to be probably militant of the SDF. He knows best. One time in the 1992 election, I think one Alaji had his party in the north and they coalited with the SDF, and it caused a lot of chaos. So people say they won, some said they did not, but the ruling party is still in place. So the ruling party still have the record in place, and they don't want such combination, such joint forces anymore. That is why among these 300 or something, we just running up maybe say 400 parties in Cameroon, you will find out that before a presidential election is declared, already about 250, 300, probably let me say 25, 30 are already joining alliance with the CPTM. That's to tell you that there are so many mushroom parties. The name of parties.
Okay, so do we say these are clandestine parties that are just an extended branch of the CPDM?
Now let me tell you that the CPDM have already had its groundwork. They have made it in such a way that you create a party just to share the national cake and you give all your voters to the CPDM. But thank God for parties that are so bravery, like the SDF and the RMC, who have stood for change. And I bet you, if you go by the records of this country, there is much improvement, even though they say the ballot box is not the better way out. If I give you a statistics from the 90, increase in voters registration has always posed a threat to the electoral result. Let me take you back there. Mabel, I have a small diagram here which are already years registration, population, and the percentage won by the ruling party. In 1992, there was a registration number of voters of 4.1. By then, the population of Cameroon was 11 million. So if 4.1 were voting, it means a lot was left out. And the ruling party won by 71%. That was 1992. Now, in 1997, we had 13.9 million Cameroonians and 4.2 registered. And the ruling party still won by 83. Now the difference here is when we come up to 2011, where we had 7.2 voters, the CPDM ruling party won by 68%.
So it wasn't a landslide victory?
Now you see that the greater the population of voters, the more threatening it becomes to the ruling party. Now last year we had 6.6, and the ruling party won by 53, and our population then was 25 million. So today we are at 27 million. So if we go massively and register for this election, I bet you the CPDM may be suffering something I may call 49 point.
Okay, so now what should be the priorities to you of the two big arms coming together to form a coalition, and how will it resonate to Cameroonians? How will it benefit Cameroonians? How will it resonate to them?
I will tell you very much that all Cameroonians want change. All of us want change, and God is so liberal in change. That's why every year there's an addition of age. There's an addition of age to our age, which is already automatic change. And that is how everyone wants the change to be applied. See, these parties have both made mistakes, common mistakes, I must say, by boycotting elections before. The SDF and the MRC have both these common mistakes. And they have seen that to come together is a will and a way forward. They are like the last hope that Cameroonians have. And the hope was shattered into two. Some people had to go to SDF, some people felt as to go to SDF, and others felt like to go to NRC. But now bringing the two in a circle means that I bet you have a greater crowd to pull. Again, we want to say here that they must understand that irrespective of their different strategies, they must bring their strategies together to give it a common strategy.
Okay, and this brings me to the next question, Mr. Ndifo.
Let me just land. Their common enemy is the ruling party, which I must tell you that it's not an easy contender. I want to just tell you that some people are talking about 40 years in power. I'm talking about 60 years because the UN CNU was just baptized to CPDM, which means that it's a long chain.
It's a long chain.
Talking about 60 years of being consistent of one party. So they must put their forces together for the common achievement they intend to achieve.
So would you call that monarchy, some sort of monarchy?
Yes, probably they'll paint it a democratic monarchy, but I think it's a monarchy.
Mr. Ndifo, this is SDF and this is MRC coming together. Two parties, different ideologies, two parties in different policies. I think the complexity comes with merging for a common interest. How do you think they're going to find a leeway? How do you think they're going to find a meeting point?
Thank you, Mabel. And before I answer your question, let me just quickly get back to something that Bertrand raised here about the fact that the more people vote, the more it becomes difficult to rig the election. Even though there was a little discrepancies with the statistics, but if you remember, the only time in Cameroon where we have had a high level of voting that went up to 71.87% turnout. That was in 1992. And in that year, President Biya won the election, going by the official results. President Biya won the election by 39.98%. So if you see, the higher the turnout, the more difficult it is for him to be able to make a way through. Now, if you see from 1992 up to this moment, there has been a downward trend in turnout, a downward trend, because after every election period, many Cameroonians, they become frustrated, they give up, they know that the whole thing has been rigged even before the elections. If you ask many Cameroonians, they will tell you that even before they go to the poll, the result,
they know who the winner is.
The winner is already known. So Cameroonians have that mentality. And if you listen to what my chairman, Joshua Osih, said in his end of year message, he said that this is how dictatorial regimes survive. They survive by convincing you that your vote does not count. They survive by letting you know that elections cannot move them. And when you get frustrated and you give up, that is how
they have their way.
That is how they survive. Because if you look at it, most people who turn out to vote in their numbers are mostly CPDM people. Most people who are aligned to the opposition, they don't trust the system. They don't trust the fact that the election is going to be free and fair. And for that reason, many of them either do not even register, or many of them who are even registered, they decide to stay home. Why? Because they feel like it is of no use, it doesn't serve any purpose, going to waste their time when they already know what the outcome is. And coming back to your question, now, one thing that could get these people who are frustrated, these Cameroonians who are of the opposition, who want change, but who are frustrated and do not think that anything can come by election, one thing that can motivate them is when they start seeing big political parties like the MRC and the SDF coming together. At that time, they start nodding their head and saying that at least something is happening, and they may start even believing that something can happen. That is when they start getting motivated to go out and vote. And how do these two big people come together? The problem over the years, as I mentioned yesterday, is that the focus on coalition has always been on who leads the coalition. That is the focus. Now, you asked a question earlier to my brother Jomo Siri, if there has been coalitions in the world or anywhere else that have succeeded. And there are many. They have the Progressive Alliance in Nigeria. That was a coalition of opposition party. You have the one in the Gambia. We have it happened in
Senegal.
South Africa, in Senegal, and all of that. So when you want opposition party want to succeed, first, the issue of coalition has to be prepared well in advance. Not what I saw last election.
At the nick of time.
5 days to election, people are running around saying, "No, people should go in for coalition." No, what would that do? It will not do anything. Coalition are well planned ahead of time.
But you know,
years ahead.
The common man would think coalition is just merging.
Yeah, it's just merging. It's not just merging. The alliance of progressive force that I'm talking about in Nigeria, it took them 3 good years prior to the election. And this is the approach they use. The approach they use is, since the SDF is saying that they want to be the one leading, and the MRC is saying that they want to be the one leading, abolish all these political parties. That is the approach Nigeria used. They dissolved those parties, fused all of them together, and created a new political party. That's the approach Nigerian used. So they forgot the issue of this party, that party, whatever. They just fused everything together. And then they went for primaries within the party. They went for primaries and said, whoever lead, and that's it. And that is how they were able to take up the AP I think in APA or they call it what. That is how they took that party that had been in power since Nigeria returned into democracy. And up to this moment as we speak, it is that same party that is being, so that party has been ruling now for the next 3 years.
You have touched something very pertinent. So to the common man will think that maybe MRC wakes up at the nick of time and they decide to form a coalition. So this is votes being merged. Do you think that is just a droplet into a sea?
Yeah, that is in fact that is the final stage after the groundwork has been done over the years.
Okay.
That coming together now becomes the final stage of the coalition. That is not the beginning. It is the final stage, because over the years what they do is that first of all they create a platform, because definitely if you go to the MRC manifesto, they have a platform, they have an idea of how they want to address the Anglophone problem. You go to the SDF, they have their own. In some of these platforms they might have similarities, it might align with each other. But there are other places that may not really align. So they have to sit down and say, okay, in terms of education, this is what you are proposing, but we do not see it this way. For example, the SDF may say that these are just hypothetical examples. The SDF might say that, okay, if we take over, we are going to give out free education. And the MRC will say that, well, for us, we do not really think that giving out free education is feasible. Where are you going to get the funds to do that? I think rather that we should rather put it this way. And they agree and come out with a platform for Cameroonians. Another option now could be that they sit in their platform and decide that, okay, this coalition that we are going in will be a transitional coalition. It will just be a transitional government. The role of this coalition, if they take over power at this point, is that they should put in place independent institutions that will conduct free and fair elections. And so therefore, in that is my best. I've made these proposals severally. They are there, even published in newspapers, that I propose. And my proposal is that the opposition parties come together. They agree on a transitional government. That transitional government can run for 5 years, it can run for 7 years, whatever. Now, they agree that within this transitional period, the institution of the state, the judiciary, should be made independent, because we do not have an independent judiciary. The elecam should be independent. They institute all the mechanisms that will ensure a free and fair election.
Okay.
After that period now, and then they even reduce the powers of the president.
Okay.
And within that coalition government that they're forming,
or transition government,
yeah, all the political parties that are involved in that coalition should be part of the government that is formed. They should be part of that government. Now, when they're part of that government and they come out with all these institutions, the condition should be that whoever is leading this coalition at this moment, after the transitional period, when fresh elections are conducted, this individual is not going to run.
Do you think, picking from all what Mr. Phil is saying, do you think it is really going to be, an impossible reality? Now, I asked him a question which he really did not expound on it very much. Different ideologies, navigating, different manifestos and all of this. How do we find a common place to blend?
The common place is the people. I keep telling you that the difficulty I have is taking example elsewhere and contextualizing it with our own democratic system. We are peculiar. And Cameroonians are people that if you don't speak their language, you will not get what they are saying. And then we have a class of people who feel somehow frustrated, because I use a lot of social media. So the reaction I receive from people tells me a lot about their insecurities. But yet they want young people to join them. The populace that are listening to us, their number one problem is hunger. So if you are talking to them, you don't tell them how you are going to secure their future, you are wasting your time. They will not follow you. There is a problem of trust. How do we level up the ground so that the people at least trust us and go and register. People are not registering because they don't trust. And it happened even within the party, where some people think that because of their proximity to the chairman or because of their financial resources, they are well placed. So they carry themselves in a way that floor members do not more recognize what they are fighting for, and it breached again the same trust we are talking
Let's
about.
talk about selection process. If there
So-
is an alliance,
So alliance is not coming the way you people are seeing. I'm telling you that there is no alliance without the people. How are you seeing it? We are in Cameroon 41 years of dictatorial regime. You are thinking that the people are fool? We must bring the people at the center of it. Party is made up of people.
okay.
And I'm trying to tell you that ideology, for example, you take the Social Democratic Front. Social means that they are in for social liberalism. They want that any piece of cake that exists, it should be evenly distributed to everybody. In MRC, we are talking about it's a kind of economic liberalism, where we believe that it's through hard work that anybody is going to have something to eat. No, for us it's very clear that if you don't work, please, when it's time to eat, don't bother to come. It's not this thing that they have state tribalism and they have just made some group of people to think that they are more citizens than others. No, it's not going to exist with us. We believe that there's an economy that will flourish for everybody, and that's why we intend to nobody will be idle. This thing will ban parade foods, will clear off those kind of distraction, bars will close. No, things that are going to make people to be off the system will help them to come back, because through the education system, that's where everything is going to be fabricated. Because when you give birth to children and they are at home, the way they are playing with toys, you immediately know that okay, this one will be an architect like Pop, this other one will be a history teacher like Mr. Nzifo, this one will be an entrepreneur like Mr. Cyril, and already you groom them. You don't send them to go and be studying hibiscus plants, biology, chemistry. No. We don't do that.
So in case there is an alliance, Mr. Cyril, how would this alliance communicate their chosen president?
The people can be given a chance to choose the figurehead of the alliance. Yes.
The people.
The people. Meaning that.
Does this tally with what Mr. Ndifo said?
Yes. If you really want us to go that pipe, I'm going to follow. The people they can bring, if the SDF and the MRC are to come together and say that okay, we are looking for the leader. That is the last thing to do. Genuinely, we're in democracy, so we organize a joint convention and say that if Palais de Congrès cannot take, and the multipurpose center, sports center in Yaoundé cannot take, we take Fandena. That is the fee now. We pull all their militant and say that okay, we want to look for the figurehead of these two coalition. Come to Joshua Osi, who is going to lead this coalition. Say okay, vote. Then we can even open it to every other Cameroonian who is desirable, who want to participate to that, and the game is fair. That is now, you see, when I put it like that, it become imaginary, because I'm not saying Kamto saying that okay, or I'm not saying Joshua Osi, but now the people, through their demand, through the pressure, can push them to have that.
I think before I get to Mr. Bertrand, Mr. Ndifo, this is a very sensitive question. And I know that this question should be in the minds of so many Cameroonians watching. With the advent of the ruling party forming a coalition with other minor political groups, what strategies do you think the MRC and SDF coming together would really push or break the odds or beat the odds?
Yes, sorry, let me again take you one step behind by clarifying something that my brother there mentioned when he talked about trying to differentiate between social democracy. Remember, social democracy is not socialism, it's not communism. We should not make that mistake. As she was talking, I was trying to just do a rough online check on the two, and you see, the difference basically between the SDF and the MRC is that one is left wing, the other one is right wing. And when we talk about social democracy, let me just read it very quickly. It says social democrats emphasize social justice, equality, and inclusivity. They support policies that protect workers' rights, promote gender and racial equality, and provide a safety net for vulnerable populations. Social democrats often advocate for progressive social policies such as universal health care, affordable housing, and strong labor protection. And right-wing ideologies tend to emphasize individualism, personal responsibility, traditional social values. They often oppose affirmative action policies, advocate for limited government interference in social matters, and emphasize the importance of traditional family structures and cultural norms. So you see, the difference here is that with one, they emphasize the fact that it's survival of the fittest. And in the other, it is that
everything is mutant.
There are vulnerable people who may not be able to survive in that context. And so therefore those vulnerable people need some kind of support. Having said that, coming back to your question.
But is it the same language?
Of course, no, the two are different. In terms of ideology, it is different. It's clearly different. I could compare that with Democrats and Republicans in the United States.
Okay.
And I'll place MRC under Republicans and SDF under Democrats.
Okay.
Because Republicans, they do not want too much government interference into affairs. So government should allow the market to speak and everybody survive in that phase. Now, given that they are diametrically different in terms of ideology, it becomes tricky and a bit difficult for the two to come together, and that is something too that is making the two parties coming together is becoming a bit difficult. But there is still a possibility, and that possibility goes back to what I was talking before, that yes, you have your policies, I have my policies, but in the meantime, what we need to do is to take off the dictatorial regime in place. And Mr. Siri talked about the people. It is true, and I emphasize that no coalition without the people will survive. But then these people need an umbrella under which they will come.
Let's talk about the advantage of this umbrella.
Yes, they need something. They need something to cover them. They cannot just survive in the air.
Talking about survival, can you please pick the advantages of this?
First of all, the first advantage is that they will pull their resources together. They will be able to use their resources together. That is the first advantage. The second advantage is that the simple fact that the SDF and MRC comes together is going to motivate a lot of electorate who have been suffering from skeptical and having voter apathy. They are going to be motivated. They are going to feel like, okay, I think I should start getting my voters card. Something serious is coming. That is going to motivate them. And then another advantage is that in terms of human resources, look, in most elections that happen in Cameroon, opposition parties, even the SDF that has a broad presence in Cameroon, like in all the angles, the crooked and crannies of Cameroon, they still found challenges having representative in all the police stations. Yes, they have challenges having. There are over 3,000 police stations in Cameroon, and for you to send somebody to go and stand in those police stations, the CPDM have the resources. In all those 3,000, they send about 3-4 people to go and stand there, and each of them, sometimes they give them 20 to 25,000.
Now, delegating these people, what are their roles at the police station?
Well, their role at the police station is to be watchdog at the police station.
Okay.
They are there to observe the counting, make sure that no
votes are not stolen.
Good. And if we have that in all 3,000 and above police stations, for example, like I talk about the SDF and the MRC coming together, because first of all, when the MRC and the SDF come together, others will just be natural, except those which are just satellite political parties of the CPDM. Other real opposition parties will just line behind. Now, when they do that, it will mean that they have the capacity to put people in all those 3,000 and more polling stations, and when they are there, they will watch. We can even coordinate with the presence of social media. They can coordinate and say, as soon as they are counting the results at this polling station, snap the return sheet and send to that central WhatsApp number. You just snap and send. This person snap and send. And at the end of the day, all over, let me just say there are 3,500 polling stations. The return sheet of 3,500 polling stations will be in one place. Very easy. 3,500 return sheet will be in somebody's phone. Wow. One. And with that now we can now sit down. Clear. We can now sit down and tally the results and be able to determine whether who has won. So that by the time the electorate wants to cook up the results and they want to panabit and do all of those things, we are already telling Cameroonians that these are the results. We have them here. All right, we have the results, and when we do that, we can have that central location, and then we have. At that time, you talk with evidence. You don't. It's not this thing that you go to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court person is there telling you that he is irreversible and all those things that he says, because you will be talking with substantial evidence in your hand. You're pointing. But for this to happen, you need the population to be behind you, and that is where I agree with Mr. Suri that the people need to support the opposition. The opposition cannot do this thing on their own. They cannot.
I think this goes back to what we was talking about, people.
Exactly. So we need to reach a level where Cameroonians will be determined and decide on their own to say that no, we are going to this police station, we are sacrificing, we don't need the opposition, they don't have money, we don't need them to give us any money I'm going to look for my 1,000 francs to buy my bread and eat at that place, and I'm going to sit there from 8 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. when the poll closes, and I'm going to be watching. In that case now they are determined, they go there. When the CPDM comes with whatever they wants to give them, we don't want to see it, and they are determined and they stand there, we will start seeing results. Wow. We'll start seeing results. These things is not all about the opposition, because when we sit and we keep saying that, oh, the opposition has failed us, the opposition has failed us, how have we ordinary citizens helped the opposition? What is our own contribution in helping the opposition to see that they succeed?
I think, Mr. Bertrand, this is the point where you get to answer the question. But then again, I'm not saying you're a prophet, but we all have, a sense of prophecy sometimes. Do you see a clash of interests if this were to happen in the upcoming election next year? And how do you think these political parties forming an alliance can go about it?
Well, the two coalition parties have a combined action to face a common enemy. So yes, the advantage here is population growth, just as serious. The SDF is coming with own portion of people, of parties, members, and the MRC is coming with theirs. So, they definitely in the liberation law, in liberty law concerning elections, it is stated clearly there that irrespective of the size of the party, the two parties must have a common sense to reason of understanding. So I don't see it being a problem if they are just for the mission they intend to embark on. Yes, and their ideologies may, no, I want to use the Cameroon context, their manifestos may be different, but in that coalition setup, they will discuss the different manifestos, and it may also brought in, when by the time these manifestos have been discussed openly to the voters, to the party sympathizers, you will come to realize that even some MRC guys will find interest in the SDF manifestos, and even some SDF people will find interest in the MRC manifestos. So that is when now they choose the leader to be projected, to stage, to mount the stage, will be elected from that gathering. I don't see it posing any problem if the two are genuinely into the coalition.
And maybe if you just permit me quickly, just to say that, there is the argument that many people always make and say that, okay, if you look in the last presidential election, Kamto came second. And the argument many people make is that if you look at the percentage that President Biya had and you look at the percentage that Kamto had, if you put all the opposition parties, their percentage together, it will not even come close to what Biya had. But that is a false interpretation there, because then again, there are many people who did not go to vote because they were frustrated that the opposition are not together. And so therefore, when the opposition come together, it will increase the number of people who will vote for the opposition. And like I said earlier in this platform, a majority of, I would say 90% of the people who refuse to go and vote are opposition. There are those who are frustrated, there are those who are angry. Those are the people who refuse to go and vote. And the majority of those who go to vote are either those who have been bought by the CPDM, or those who are bona fide CPDM militants. These are the majority of those who actually go to cast their vote. And a few opposition militants who have decided that in whatever circumstance they will still try. They keep fighting. You have the militant, the opposition members who have the fighting spirit, and they don't care even if the system is as bad as what, they still go out and vote. And just as we were talking, I just tried to verify the number of polling stations. I largely underestimated the number of polling stations. I just found that there are 24,000 polling stations. I was talking about 3,000. There are 24,000 polling stations across the country. Just imagine manning these 24,000 polling stations with
selling representatives.
It is very costly for a political party. Very, very costly. That is why it is important that the opposition parties come together and that the people are willing to volunteer their service to help the opposition party.
Talking about volunteering their service, Mr. Cyril, do you think if this is an advent of change, how will this coalition neutralize the ruling party's dominance?
It is obvious that the ruling party will not sit and fold its arm, so that the SAF and the CRM should be devising their strategy to come and beat them. We talk of a possibility of having a gathering where the coalition leader will be projected. The CPDM, in their usual method, will do everything to frustrate that initiative. That is one. Secondly, they are going to use their divisional officers in every local community to make sure that they intimidate in Yaoundé too, for example. Seeing the mobilization of the MRC, the present mayor, when in associate, you know, most associations they gather on Sundays to have a little discussion. When they gave them 1,000, sent carton of soap and oil, and warning them. I don't want to hear somebody cough Kamto around this vicinity. I'm telling you that they have all the intricity that you cannot even imagine. That is why we say Cameroonians sometimes they underestimate the power of this regime too much. They just talk up to a position. You see somebody who is not able to eat, he's insulting you that you are in your position. You associate that, but do you even know where you are? So my bad, yes, we are talking very beautiful things here about coalition, but the system in place, the first people we need to fight is our friends that despite the ugliness of the system are pretending to be with the system. No. The Bible says that beware of wild dogs. You cannot draw the devil on the wall and you are running and you are saying that you are having a nightmare. You are the one who are drawn. You have friends that are supporting this regime. No, you have to make it known to them that they are the evil. They are the one making you, bringing misery in the country. You must dissociate yourself from them so that they should know that their choices have a consequence.
Does it mean you and Dr. Busi will not share meals?
Oh, you are just bringing. No, I'm not talking about persons here. I'm talking about institution. I'm talking about a way that, for example, I don't want to take the case of Kamto. What do people say about Kamto when you want to talk about Kamto? They say, oh, he has worked in the government for 7 years. Oh, we have extra where he is exemplifying Mr. Biya. So you see those stigma of the past. How do you wipe that in the skull of people who are suffering? That's what we are saying, that for young politicians that we are, we should be careful with our dealings. We should be very careful. Sometimes those CPD and pundits, as young as they are malicious. They know they have joined the devil.
But the least opportunity they have to mess with you, they make sure they take picture and go and they are putting on their status. No. When you make wrong choices, we have to run with our dear life. We have to run, because one thing you should know with the populace, they never forget and they never forgive. Yes, observe the populace well. As dormant as they are for 41 years, they know who their perpetrators are, and they know that if they could not fight them, their children can fight them. So yes, there is a motion on the table about coalition, and throughout this program we have been able to really establish how that can work. Now it operates at the national level, but a spring can come from the local level. Imagine a program like this one where they are receiving Professor Maurice Kamto or the chairman of the SDF, Joshua Osi, and viewers send 1,000 messages just talking about coalition. Even the journalists at a certain point will pause the program and say that, see what is happening. That is how the people can participate. There are thousands of ways. Imagine you go on Joshua Osi Facebook page. I was told that now he's the one answering his messages every day. 1,000 1,000 is nothing.
It's not.
As I'm talking, more than 1,000 people are following. So you can start now. Coalition every day. The political parties are human beings. They will call up an urgent national next meeting.
Okay,
and
so
say that
you
the motion on the table,
sitting behind the keyboard, that change can be.
It can change. We should stop fooling ourselves that the digitalization is not working. No, we should stop fooling ourselves. We have the power, just that we are distracted. We are too distracted. I hear people say, let's go and take one man. What is one man? What is one man, for God's sake? And it is because of the more of the one man.
But you know the people are saying learning without play.
What do you mean by playing? How can we play in dictatorial? Which play is here? Now they are playing AFCON. Most people are paying their ticket to go to Ivory Coast. Can you pay? No. Why? Because you are underpaid. Is it normal? See, every average Cameroonian is supposed to have, at least after a degree, are supposed to have average 400,000 salary. Paying ticket should not be something like when you are entering the pay, people should be, yes, but that's the case. Today, if you are working in a major house like this, you have 200,000, they will see you like a star in Hoboya. It's not supposed to be like that. We should give a chance to Cameroonian to enjoy the resources that this country has. And we are still saying all this thing to the people, because even if, as this program is going, if you have 1,000 people who are following this program, and you are on YouTube, you are on Facebook, by tomorrow you will have made not less than $100. That money will help to take care of this house. But if the people are deserted, they are playing party foot. Excuse me, I don't have a problem with it. All your interest that they are playing, how do we convert that money now to develop this program? So how do we convert to change this country?
I thought
we need to be serious.
Yesterday
we are talking too much in this country.
But yesterday you were talking about church, and today it beats my imagination.
No, when I talk about God, there is a living God. He that we are hoping that is going to help us save this country. But don't go and mix it with dealers who are into church, because they are parents. They have school fees to pay for their children. They have house rent. I don't blame them for the role they play, but I blame the sheep who are behind them foolishly. So they don't have voters cards. They don't have a job. How do you even pay your dimes? No, we have to be serious, my brother. It starts with us young people. When I look at young people today, sometimes I don't even know what to say. You see a young person, shoes he does not have, clothes he does not have, but you want to say one or two things, he's the one passing on you, insulting you, improper fashion, fat head, this. You look at him. Okay. So we must come back to the basics.
Okay, now I think that we have over-trumpeted the role of SDF and MRC. Would you suggest, Mr. Ndifo, that other minor political, because when we are looking at opposition, we are looking at those who stand tall, the SDF, the MRC. Do you think it shouldn't just end at, these two baobabs coming together and forming a unit, but other minor political groups to coming to associate in this alliance process?
Maybe I started by saying that the SDF and MRC coming together will be a giant step. It will be a great move.
Another limitation.
But that will not solve the problem. So, but their coming together will be the first step, the first giant step. But for us to get to the finish point, we need real opposition parties to come together. We need the civil society organizations to fall behind. We need the ordinary Cameroonians to line behind this and support them. Support them. The moment the civil society go out, maybe the civil society, in their constitution, in most civil society, they claim that they are apolitical. I always have a problem with the statement of apolitical, because you see every single civil society, they say they are apolitical.
But it's supposed to be that way for security.
Let me explain. I run a civil society organization to myself. When we established our working document, our constitution, and my team said we should use apolitical, I explained to them that, oh no, when you start advocating for girls' education, you are already talking politics. So how do you say apolitical? I said rather use the word non-partisan. That is the right word to use, not apolitical, because almost everything we do in life is political. It's political. I asked my aunt, who was complaining to me that she does not want to mention any. When you say politics, I don't want that on a politics, on a carry and come on. But she keeps complaining, the prices of goods and services in the market, basic goods. So I went to the market today, the prices of salt was up.
Can you bring a crystal clear difference between one being apolitical and non-partisan?
Yes, there is.
One would think that
being when you say you are apolitical, nothing even exists like being apolitical. There is no way you can say you are apolitical. The moment you start complaining that the prices of basic commodity increase, you are already talking politics. The moment, because the problem with us is that we see politics only as SDF, CPDM, MRC, John Frundi, Canto, Paul Biya. That is not politics. That is our limited view of politics. Politics go far beyond just those names. The moment you start complaining that the roads going to my village is bad,
that's politics.
You're talking politics. We're supposed to construct the roads. The moment you start complaining that prices of goods and services in the market are up, you are talking politics. Members of parliament of recent, they introduced new taxes. As we are entering 2024, the prices will go even higher because there have been new taxes that have been introduced and passed by the overwhelming majority of CPD militants in that parliament. But if you voted the right people in parliament, they will stop that kind of a bill from going through.
Okay.
So instead of saying that you are non-partisan, or say you are apolitical, say you are non-partisan. Non-partisan means that
you don't belong.
You do not align to this party or to that party or to this party. You just want things to be done right. That's what I mean. And to add to your question about bringing in people, as we speak right now, there are those people that I call spoilers. They're in the background. They are preparing. They are cooking in the background. The day presidential election is launched, you hear all kinds of names in this world that you have never heard before. They will come from nowhere.
By that, what do you mean?
You just hear
clandestine.
Those people, I don't know where they come from. In 2011, there were 43 candidates. It was election that trimmed it down until we finally ended with 23. And 23 is too many in a country like Cameroon.
Really?
Too many presidential candidates. If America has over 100, how many? About 500 million people, and they have 2 presidential candidates. And then Cameroon, with just 25 million people, we have 23. That is too much. Those are, some of them did not even know what they were doing. I remember one man who was on the Equinox and they kept making fun of him because he did not even know what he was there doing. Those are charlatans. Those are those people that they pick in the quarter to come, and they're spoilers. That is how I call them. Those are spoilers. They're just coming to spoil everything.
Detractors.
Destroy everything. Yes. Those are pure spoilers. So when we are talking about people coming together, we are not looking at those kind of people into it, because those people will still come. But then my problem with Cameroonians is that when these spoilers come in, They still go and they give their votes and waste votes to these spoilers. They go and waste votes. Look, you might think that there are only 2 political parties in the United States. They are not. America has over 100 political parties. But American electorate are educated enough to know that whatever party, whether you call yourself the Green Party or you call yourself the Red Party or whatever, it boils down to 2 things. Either you are right wing or you are left wing. Finish.
So are you saying that we should on the look the place of the PCRN?
That is not what I'm saying.
No,
PCRN
I mean
it's a very serious political
so
party. I will not rate them as a spoiler. I will not rate them as a. They created significant impact. So I will not rate them as spoilers. And even Kawala, who did not even participate in last presidential election, she has a formidable force behind her. She's a force to reckon with. Okay, so I will not call her a spoiler. And you know, when I talk about, I'm sure Cyril knows what I'm talking about. Cyril knows what I'm talking about. Those are they're spoilers, but we are saying that the SDF and the CPDM and the MRC coming together is a step. And then other political parties like the PCRN that you are talking about, Kawala that you are talking about, maybe Akeremuna and a few other people, they can come in now and
for a push
and push it. But we don't want political parties that are suitcase parties. We have we have people whose parties end in their suitcase with the documents.
So I think
their members are their mother, their wives and children. Even their own mothers do not. Sometimes their wives in their house do not even support them.
The voters should not be left out of this discussion. How should this alliance reach out to the voters? By this alliance, we are talking about SDF and MRC. How do you think they can reach out to the hearts of the voters? You know, loosely borrowing from what Mr. Njomo Siri always says, the people are the heartbeat, at the centerpiece, at the epicenter of everything that is happening in politics.
Now, 2 people are coming together with different political policies and different manifestos. Now, Cameroonians are already fed up. Not just talking about the SDF militant and the MRC militant. We have looked at the population of Cameroon and we see that not even up to half is participating in the electoral process. So what are those things? What are those pertinent problems that can be addressed, can be used? Let us say that the 2 parties coalited together, they have their different manifestos, but how they have to probably keep it aside for now and then look at a common frame and probably phrase to use to tackle the disgruntled Cameroonian population who have felt that change cannot come through the ballot box. Now we have, I saw probably the end of your speech, people singing praises, people thinking, not even singing praises, thinking after 41 years about construction of roads, common water, common portable drinking water. These are the areas. This is a base for a startup. Let me just use the SDF, this coalition partners as the base. That is what they should be saying. And the population, I would say that for 41 years, these people in place have not been able. This is an opportunity that we give to this young strength to see what they can do. Let us look at, let them come out with a good manifesto, like how do we handle the current socio-political crisis, robbing the north and southwest. Let us come how are looking the attacks on the north through Boko Haram. There are other captions that they can put in front that will really look forward to say that yes, it is time that let us join the moving train. And you asked a question to Mr. Ndifo that said that if this political party being in the place of CPD and MROs, if they come together, what impact are they going to cause on other parties? I want to say that they are going to cause a lot of impact because they say sheep move in the line.
Categories.
Yeah.
But now, in that movement, if you look very well, the most seniors are in front before the younger ones.
I think that's some wisdom that you're trying to spew there. Thank you very much, Mr. Bob Bertrand. The head of state today received New Year wishes. We cannot turn a blind eye to that. Before we fold the program, what do you think and how important is this ritual to you?
No, to me personally, it's of no importance. But because we are communicating to viewers who might find interest in those kind of activities, I must say it is a moment of communion. It is a moment where people meet, because don't only limit it to the presence of the head of the state there. He is a mobilizing factor. So all the workforces in this country, in short, those who actually matter, converges to the Unity Palace, which is a house that belongs to Cameroonian. You know, before the Unity Palace, I think came in 1982 or 84, something like that. Before, it was at the Palais de Congrès that the president was living. So that house was built for Cameroonian, but Mr. Biya somehow usurpated the house until, to the conception of most people, they associate that house only to his image. No, it's not supposed to be like that. So an occasion like this one, both for the diplomats that are living in Cameroon, you know, in diplomacy, where you go and find any how do I call it, embassy, it is the territory of that country in a foreign land. I hope you know so. Yeah, so it is a communion between all those diplomats and the nationals, and it is divided into two parts. The first part, it is these diplomats, meaning all the countries that Cameroon is having bilateral relationship with them, including the economic communities. Like today, they will talk about the European Union, talk about CEMAC, talk about there's this new one that came with the BRICS, including Russia, South Africa, and some few other parts, to fight the Western, what they call in French, OTAN. So that is the first part of the gathering, where you have the oldest diplomat who takes the floor and address the head of state in a kind of representing the other diplomat. Now, I listened to this diplomat. I listened to the man from Gabon, the ambassador from Gabon, and I told you already, we started talking about the content of his speech. He hailed the head of state for hosting so many international conferences this year. He spoke about the last one was that of Francophonie, that saw 69 members country participate out of 82, and for him it said that if Cameroon was not a wonderful peaceful destination, all those member state country wouldn't have flourished in Cameroon for such a meeting. He was gracing him for such a laudable initiative. Then also letting him know that Cameroonians abroad, in the light of Francis Ngannou, have made
really shining.
Have helped the continent in total to stand tall. So kind of saying, telling President Paul Biya that it is thanks to his leadership, his clear leadership, that we are having his citizen sprinkling light abroad. Then follow the national. In the national, we had 35.
Ritual has